So I started this master's program, and I'm learning thanatology, right? So thanatology, like, well, what is that? It's like basically a death doula, or helping with bereavement, or hospice support, palliative care. It takes a whole hyphenate of words to describe one big word. And I've learned that, it's pretty neat. But in this thanatology, what I've learned is like, there's a lot of history around death, you know? And for example, is one quick thing is like the expression "saved by the bell" comes from people getting buried alive. And it happens so often, they had to put a bell in the casket just to ring a ding ding, hey, I'm still down here. You know, saved by the bell. All right, that's one point. Another thing I learned recently is like, this is like in the last 20 years of an issue, people that have heart pacers to regulate your heartbeat, it's only in the last, 20 years they had a fix for this solution. So simply put, a heart pacer regulates your heartbeat by giving a little shot on a rhythm, right? But if you're trying to die, and you're ready to die in life, if you have a heart pacer, you're having a very painful death. It's been described. So what doctors and nurses would do was try to call the manufacturers of these heart pacers to say, hey, these people are trying to die, and they're having a very unpleasant time. How can we help them? And the manufacturer's like, well, we didn't plan for that. We don't have an off button for your heart. When we make this, with the doctor's mentality in mind is just to preserve life. Sidebar, when you say preserve life, let's think about like the Hippocratic Oath. And I maybe go into the Hippocratic Oath, like, what is this thing? Like, what I've learned is it's all decorative and ceremonial. There's nothing really weighted to it. But the idea we think is that, do no harm, do no harm. But when you consider quality of life versus the quantity of life, then there's kind of like a gray area to dance with. There's no point in living if you're getting shocked in your heart every 10 seconds. Like it's not gonna be a good time to live. So with that comes the recent frequency of medically assisted deaths, or forgot the gentricide, fanticide, help me out people. It's some kind of side.
Suicide?
Not suicide, it's assisted suicide.
Oh, assisted.
Yeah, that one. So in that sense, and especially more like conservative states, they don't really recognize any way to stop life, but there's still a line in the sand. This as much as like morphine. Back to another sidebar. Morphine is apparently how the WHO quantifies the value of a nation taking care of their people in bereavement or about to die, is morphine. So America has like 4,000% morphine to its population, and Afghanistan has like 0.08. So it's kind of odd, with the percentage of population you has this thing to alleviate death in some sense. So back to this thing with doctors and trying to help people die, they're not trained for that. It's to do no harm. And to do no harm, and if you think about alternate scenarios of, say, the quote-unquote Holocaust, right? To do no harm, or Japanese internment camps, Tuskegee, take your pick, do no harm, it's kind of like all tongue-in-cheek, like, oh, well, these sacrifices will paint the medical research for an entire generation to come. It's revolutionary, we gotta do these tests. Just like Freud had to have the Stanford experiment or some shit. Like, that level of like, contradictory, like, hey, I'm not teetering on this story. I'm not too sure. And I just found that fascinating. So in summary, we recently solved how to turn off people's hearts with technology so they can die properly. And the Hippocratic Oath is for a bunch of hypocrites. Thank you for your time.